There's surprisingly a lot of bosses in Smash Bros, so today I thought it'd be fun to rank every boss, and I'm also joined by Skip the Tutorial, creator of the Boss Breakdown series.
Hey, how's it going, folks? The only guidelines for today is that stage bosses will not count. So that means no Yellow Devil on Wily's Castle or Ridley on Pyrosphere.
And of course, any giant characters from Classic Mode won't count either. And with that, let's get her ranked. 27, Ultimate's Giga Bowser. It's basically just Bowser's old Final Smash, which isn't to say it's the worst idea ever, but it comes off as a bit lazy. He definitely looks cool though, and I'm glad he's been considered as a boss again just like in Melee, but some new attack patterns to help distinguish him would have helped out a bit. 26, Brawl's Petey Piranha. So here we have a boss that's made to be an introduction to the Subspace Emissary. With that said, it's not a surprise that he's really easy to fight. But come on, 2 attacks? All he does is jump around or slowly swing a cage at you. You can have an intro boss and give him a bit more to do, just saying.
25, Brawl Galleom. Next on our list is generic robot number 49. Galleom does have some pretty interesting attacks, like shooting missiles, belly flopping, turning into a tank, and things like that. The only issue gameplay-wise is that some of the characters are at a bit of a disadvantage from the get-go, because they can't jump over him that easily. And the real kicker is that he does look really bland and out of place in a game like Smash Bros, where everything is just so gosh darn memorable and unique.
24, Brawl's Duon. Here's another generic robot that looks a little bit more interesting than Galleom. His gimmick is that he's two-sided and rolls around on a giant wheel. Because of this design, he's catered to have more interesting attacks, plus he's just more appealing than Galleom, but the two could be interchanged based on preference. 23, 64's Master Hand. It's the infamous white glove you all know and love. Who would have thought a hand could be such an intriguing boss? Well, not this version of him anyway, which makes sense since this is his first variation. Master Hand flicks his finger at you, shoots bullets while making a gun pose, punches, slaps, and so much more. But with that said, he is really slow and his attacks just aren't that strong.
22, Melee's Master Hand. Yeah, this is essentially the same boss, but he's been sped up a bit, and now there's more variety with his attacks, when he's also sporting this new laser attack, which is admittedly kinda lame, because it's so weak and doesn't do a whole lot of damage. 21, Melee's Crazy Hand, or basically Master Hand 2.0. He's slightly more interesting and gives off more of that creepy aura, which I kinda like. And while most of his attacks are the same as Master Hand's, he does have a couple that are unique to himself.
20, Ultimate's Galleom. There is not too much more to say about this version that we didn't state with the original, but some of the attacks are upgraded to make him a bit stronger, which is nice I suppose. It's also nice that when he's reduced to a quarter of health, he turns red and stomps around wildly, giving him a bit more of a personality. I would have preferred them to bring back Duon, but it's still cool seeing a nod to Subspace and World of Light. 19, Brawl's Master Hand. You may have noticed by now, but the hands slowly improve over each iteration of Smash. His attacks are faster, deal more damage, and generally feels more intimidating like a boss should. My only issue with Brawl's Master Hand is his portrayal as a weak character in this game. Tabuu basically just kills him in the Subspace Emissary, which doesn't really mean much in the long haul, but he still has that stigma attached to him from Brawl. 18, Brawl's Crazy Hand. Obviously, as usual, he's very similar to Master Hand, but with more interesting attacks. He's technically less powerful than Master Hand in this game, so these could be interchanged by preference.
17, 3DS and Wii U's Master Hand. This version has plenty of interesting nerfs and buffs. For one, he lost a few attacks from the previous games, and some attacks do less damage now. But at that same time, he also gained plenty of new ones. So even though some of the moves have been weakened, I feel it's more important to have a more diverse and broad moveset. 16, 3DS and Wii U's Crazy Hand. Really, there's not much else to add here, except for the fact that this one has new attacks, and maybe some new combination attacks with Master Hand.
15, Melee's Giga Bowser. Giga Bowser is a rare case of a boss with unlock conditions that you'll usually actually stand a chance at fulfilling on the adventure mode. And sure, his moveset can feel samey just after fighting Giant Bowser before, but past that, there's a certain measure of coolness when you first see such an iconic boss power-up that keeps this fight a blast. 14, Ultimate's Master Hand. This is by far the best iteration of the hands, and it really shows. His moveset is the highest it's ever been, which is fantastic since that makes him more unpredictable and just more varied in general. Now granted, he is seen as inferior in World of Light since Galeem and Dharkon are in charge, but he's part of an army, a strong army. 13. Ultimate's Crazy Hand. Just like Master Hand, the amount of new moves he has is insane and makes him one of the most interesting bosses even though he's in most of the other Smash Bros games.
12. Brawl's Rayquaza. Here's a boss that proves bigger isn't always better. Sure, he takes up half the screen and does look pretty awesome, but when that's all he brings to the fight, it doesn't nearly do justice for this legendary beast. I mean, we have one of the strongest dragon Pokemon in history, and he does little more than fly around and roar? There's plenty of potential here, it just needed a few more references to his source material.
11. Brawl's Porky. Much like Rayquaza, we have another baddie taking up some screen real estate. However, unlike the Pokemon, this fight plays a lot more of its size. Whether it's floating around for lightning attacks or even just a basic scurry, there's a lot more to dodging his attacks than some of the others on this list. My main problem with this, the background is too boring. Maybe some sort of Mother 3 backdrops would have been nice. 10. Brawl's Ridley. Finally, a dragon boss that makes sense. It did until Ultimate came out. Anyway, Ridley's attacks here echo plenty of what we've seen since the Super Metroid days, and it just fits really well. And this is back in the days when he was too big to be a fighter. Just look at the size of this guy. While he does have some fun attacks, such as his Stage Slash and Flyby, his biggest issue here is that he never takes a breather. Since he doesn't like the land, there's plenty of opportunities to dodge his moves, and makes him a lot easier to deal with here.
9. Ultimate's Ganon. Unlike Giga Bowser, this fight goes a long way to not just be a clone of Ganon's final smash. What we get actually does a better job building on his Ocarina appearance, and scores us all that two-sword action that comes with. One thing to note is that the green weak spot on his tail can be a pain to smack when using more grounded characters. So this is definitely a fight that rewards certain character picks, which might feel a little out of place with such a huge roster.
8. Ultimate's Rathados. This hunt's just pure fun. Seriously, his whole moveset has a great fire theme and references nicely to his hectic survival moves in the Monster Hunter games. Plus, his thickness is actually put to good use here, unlike some of the other dragon-style fights. Between trotting on the floor, flying overhead, and hovering in the background, he has a serious mix of mobility that keeps the fight compelling as you work through. 7. Ultimate's Dharkon. One thing to say about Galeem and Dharkon is that they're worth the sum of their parts, but Dharkon might just be a little bit weaker of the two. Even when you fight both of them together, he's the easier one to single out. His tentacle-themed attacks won't keep you on your toes too much, but the feel of fighting darkness personified is such a memorable experience and very fun when partnered with his other half.
6. Ultimate's Galeem. Sure enough, Galeem picks up the slack and earns his spot as the trailer villain. Adding on to the sheer creepiness of the somewhat calm yet deadly light attacks, the crazy damage of the projectiles and bombs can put up numbers quick. Really, what keeps this fight, and Dharkon for that matter, back from the higher slots is that they're just so abstract. Fighting games need some raw visual feedback, and these two spheres just miss the mark.
5. 3DS/Wii U's Master Core. I'm kind of shocked that this is one of the few boss fights in Smash Bros. To actually have multiple forms, as most of them go down outside of Dracula. Depending on the difficulty you're playing on, you have Master Giant, Master Beast, Master Edges, Master Fortress, and Master Shadow to fight. The Giant is basically just some big dude, Beast is this Kremling-looking thing, Edges is a bunch of swords, and Shadow is a clone of your character. All these different forms makes Master Core feel so full as an entity as you tear through all these different layers, and it's really challenging too. My only real issue is with Master Fortress, and that's because he's incredibly hard to access. The only way to play this is to get to Master Core on Intensity 9 or higher and without getting a game over at any point. In the Fortress, you have to fight enemies and destroy all the cores inside, which is really neat, but it's unnecessarily hard to play. 4. Brawl's Meta Ridley. You're fighting on top of Captain Falcon's ship. Awesome. Taking down a giant metal dragon while riding it? That's kick-ass. Picking up where the other Ridley flight left off, this time plays a lot more with stage hazards and arena boss synergy. Sometimes he'll even knock your ride off the screen. It's serious stuff. Throw on a time limit for some extra adrenaline if you're playing in subspace, and this fight dishes out some serious epic gamer vibes.
3. Brawl's Tabuu. You know a boss is good when they make Master Hand and Crazy Hand look wimpy and weak. Tabuu is not a force to be reckoned with, and all of his attacks are fast, unpredictable, and extremely creative. He shoots eye beams, has a dragon laser, a golden whip, and honestly, that's just a handful of what he has. That's why defeating him feels so accomplishing after beating all of that buildup from subspace. There's not much quite like it.
2. Ultimate's Dracula. A lot of his attacks in this fight actually come right from other Castlevania titles, like the first one, Rondo of Blood, Harmony of Despair, and Portrait of Ruin as examples. And while that's pretty sick, he also has a second form where he turns into that demon thing from the first game. What's great is that all these attacks manage to translate perfectly from Castlevania, from his head being the weak spot, to the amount of power the attacks cater and the speed of them. It's just really good stuff.
1. Ultimate's Marx. At the top spot, we've got Sakurai's Sweetheart, and hey, it works just great. Karl Marx over here plays very faithfully to his superstar fight. But adding on to that, he has plenty of new attacks, like pink branches and crying out creepy black spheres. It's a fight that not only honors its source material, but builds past it. And I think that's just what a Smash Bros. Boss should do.
And if you really want to know why Marx is the best Smash Bros. Boss, skip the tutorial, made an entire video on it that you can check out right now. Thanks a bunch for watching, guys.
And with that, folks, take care, and you have a good one, alright?